The witch wound was created in community. The witch wound was there was salt poured into the witch wound by women. There This did not happen in isolation. There were not hordes and hordes of women standing out against women being tried for witchcraft. And in fact, neighbors, midwives against midwives, neighbors against neighbors were accusing each other of witchcraft because there was not enough safety and security for women. And if you were turning someone in, then you were probably pretty safe. This is part 2 of a 4-part series on the witch wound. And we're looking at the witch wound and how it impacts us in our modern world, how it impacts women in our modern world. Now, the witchcraft trials of the 1400s through 1700s did not only impact women, they impacted men as well. And that's important to know because there is all kinds of inaccurate information spread about the witch wounds on social media all the time, way overestimating or claiming as fact the number of people who were executed in the name of witchcraft, making it a women's only issue. Now, in England, Western Europe, it was about 90% women who were accused and executed for witchcraft. But in Northern Europe, there are some countries where it was mostly men. And so I just want to make sure that we're always aware of that. We're not skewing facts for, some agenda, some must think of it my way or else situation here. So keep that in mind. This is a societal issue. However, in our lens here, we are looking at the fact that 75 to 85% overall of people who were impacted by the witch craze were women. And that has followed us into society today. So much of this fear of being powerful, of having prosperity, of being a wise woman and a healer, being independent for women, has followed us into our modern society. If you missed episode 1 of this series, you're going to want to go back and take part in that, enjoy that. But it is time for part 2 of our 4-part series. Since 2016, I have been helping women bring more magic to their daily lives, find their self-trust, bring confidence, magic, delight into their lives. And one of the things I am really passionate about is the stories that we tell ourselves about our belonging, about who we are and why we are that way, about what our worth is, our value is, our identity, the stories we create for ourselves. And these stories that we create for ourselves, they live in our energy. And this is all informed by the world that we live in. So when you look out your window every day, you go on social media, you see a billboard, the entire experience of living in our modern world informs what we believe to be true about ourselves. And those stories can make it so that we are deepening the witch wound without even realizing it. So many of us prefer to not expand our communities. We prefer to have a small group of people around us, which is amazing and fine. Like, you should have a group of people who you can always turn to, right? But we're afraid to put ourselves out there and be rejected. We're afraid of being seen as wrong. We're afraid to sound dumb. We are afraid to take up too much space. I see this all the time with women who join our online community. We have a membership program called Enchanted Journey, and women who actually will leave the membership because they feel self-conscious of the amount with which they go in there and post and share. So we feel like no one's saying that to them. They just feel that themselves. We feel this light shining on us all the time that makes us feel more visible than we are comfortable with being, and then we isolate. And that comes from the witch wound. And when we isolate, we are deepening that witch wound, because when women are not in community, when women feel afraid to take up space, when they feel afraid of the light shining on them, that is when they go into the darkness. That is when they go into the shadow. That's when they stand in the corner and wait to be told. Healing the witch wound is an inside job for sure, where we want to rewrite the stories we're telling ourselves about who we are and what's possible for us. But it's not a job that is done in isolation, because the wound itself was not created in isolation. It was created in a culture of people. It was created in community. Within communities all over Europe and in early America, you have whole tight-knit communities turning against each other and turning against the women in the community. This was created in community. It must be healed in community. We must not be afraid of rejection and judgment and isolation. We have to heal our relationship with those things. And so much of that, in part 3, we're going to talk about this. We can lean on nature to help heal that, to help support us in that process, because nature is always making space for things, right? Things have to go, things have to grow, always making space for new, always making space for more. When it comes to community, though, when it comes to isolation and healing that witch wound, women, spiritual women in particular, can really feel like outsiders and feel extremely alone. I was talking about this recently with the community, how alone and lonely are two different things. You can feel alone, you can be alone, literally alone, and not feel lonely. You can be in a room full of people and feel lonely. And some of this does come from that story of the witch wound, the energy of the witch wound. I know for myself, when my kids were babies and toddlers, I took part in a lot of different mom groups, breastfeeding group, library, music time, all these things. And while I was with people and I was having conversation and smiling and having a fairly good time, I often felt very lonely in those groups, very not seen, very not my authentic self. And the thing about the witch wound is we have to understand, when we are self-excluding, when we are saying, I am not enough for these people, I'm not like these people, they don't get me. And you know what? Maybe they don't get you, but and belonging and fitting in are two different things. And when we're trying to fit in into community, and we don't fit, I think that is when we actually start to tell ourselves, like, this isn't for me. I can't find my people. I'm too much. I'm too this. I'm too that. And that just widens that witch wound. What we have to do is allow ourselves to belong in community, not try to fit in community. We have to allow ourselves to belong. I experience this now in my life. My grandfather has dementia. He'll be 89 this month. If it's meant to be, he will be 89 this month. And it is so challenging to allow myself to continue to feel like I belong when I look around me and so many of my friends, all of my friends, cannot relate to my experience of working full time, of taking care of my 2 kids. I homeschool my kids, having my grandfather. I'm the power of attorney person for my grandparents. My husband and I spend a lot of time with them and helping them with things and whatnot. And it's very easy to say, I no longer fit in with these people because they don't get me. They tell me about their lives and we just are not speaking the same language. They do not get me. That is the witch wound, putting people against each other, because if we're saying my experience is more valid than yours. Your experience is not the same as my experience. We can't relate to each other. And when we do that, we're widening that witch wound. What we want to do is allow ourselves to belong, allow ourselves to be seen by people who don't understand us, allow ourselves to see people who we don't understand. And even if we do have an even playing field, like all of us here, we are spiritual women, we're witchy women, we love metaphysics, we love crystals and tarot and astrology. We have that in common. But what happens is one person speaks a little more than somebody else. One person shares they find something more challenging than somebody else. One person is afraid to share their win of getting the, I don't know, chief financial officer position where they're making 200 grand a year now. And they're afraid to share that because they know other women around are struggling to make ends meet. And so in that way, we don't allow ourselves to find belonging in community because we're so busy trying to fit in. And what that does is it widens the witch wound. It widens the witch wound. I found a paper or a study done by Stanford University. And over 2 years, they tracked 86 professional women, all working for the same organization. And what they found with these women over the 2 year study was that they sought to reduce, I'm quoting this, sought to reduce chances for interpersonal conflict. So they did not want conflict with other people, but increase opportunity for friendly relationships, friendly relationships. So they did not want to feel the strain of conflict. And when we are trying to fit in, that is when we avoid the strain of conflict. We don't want to feel different than the other people around us. So we fall back to friendly relationships and abandon ourselves, and we enhance that witch wound in the process. The Stanford paper called this intentional invisibility. Intentional invisibility. So the thing I want to highlight here is they are making friends, right? Like me and my mom group. I'm out there, I'm being friendly, I'm developing friendly relationships. But I did not want the tension of the interpersonal conflict of telling people, yeah, I have a spiritual practice where I read tarot, I read astrology. I'm actually this amazing energy creatrix, and I have these psychic touchdowns, and I feel really powerful about helping, or very passionate about helping women step into their power, because I was so busy trying to fit in and have those friendly relationships. I didn't want the interpersonal conflict that leads to true belonging, right? And that's healing the witch wound. Sacred belonging means being seen and being celebrated. It does not mean fitting in. It means being seen and being celebrated. So if you do not have that in your life, or you have like a little bit of it, but not as much as you would like, I know that for me, I have felt like this time and time and time again. If you know astrology at all, my north node is in the 11th house, which is the house of friendships, and your north node is what you're working towards. So, what I'm talking about right now is quite literally the hardest thing for me to do in this lifetime. It is the thing that I will shy away from. I have to consciously expand to. So, I get it. Put yourself out there, whether in online communities, local groups, or even just with one person who you can allow yourself to feel belonging with without trying to fit in. That is going to help to heal that witch wound, that fear of visibility, fear of being too much, fear of being seen in yourself, and also for the collective. Because when you're doing that work for you, you cannot help but spread that energy to other people and help others feel safe to be visible and belong as well, and feel safe to be visible and belong as well. Oh my gosh. The topic of belonging is I feel like my whole life I have felt like I did not belong. And it has taken intentional effort to heal the witch wound and allow myself to feel like I belong and not like I have to fit in. Ask yourself, is there a place in your life right now where you feel safe to be your full, most authentic, most magical self? Where is that place? Can you spend more time there? What parts of you are you still hiding? What can you allow yourself to put out there and trust that you will belong, and that other people are on the journey to feel belonging as well? And it's not just about fitting in. And what would change for you if you felt truly witnessed and celebrated? If you felt like somebody was witnessing you, not validating you, that is different. That's witch wound shit. We are not validating. If somebody was seeing you and celebrating you, not necessarily validating you. You, your energy, your story, your purpose, all of it is meant to be shared. It's meant to be witnessed, and it's meant to be celebrated. If you are not sharing your purpose, your soul, who you are, that is the witch wound in action. If you are not being witnessed, not validated, not having people give you advice, not saying stuff back to you, being witnessed in who you are, that is the witch wound doing its work. And if you are not being celebrated every single day for something, that is the witch wound also doing its work. And if you aren't doing that for others, witch wound, again, showing up in your life. When people do this for you and when you do it for others, the witch wound starts to heal for all of us. All right. In our next part of this 4-part series, we are going to dive into the healing rhythms of nature and explore how this can support us and the very uncomfortable, very challenging work of belonging and of healing the witch wound. Be sure to check out the description, the notes, so that you can see what we are doing here at the Sisters Enchanted right now. We'd love to have you in our Enchanted Journey membership if that feels like the right fit for you right now, where we work with the natural rhythms, bring accountability in, and it is a wonderful group where we have opportunities to practice witnessing and celebration all the time, consistently, regularly. And we'd love to have you there. Also, any other supporting tools we have for you, we have linked in the notes for this episode. All right, y'all, I'll see you in the next one, episode 3. If you're watching this in real time or listening, that will be out in about a week. And be sure to do episode 1 if you missed that. Until then, stay magic, Enchanted Sister.